December 31st, 2000. People all over the world are preparing to welcome the new year. The first year of the new millennium is coming to a close, and many are anticipating new beginnings, fresh starts, and the exciting times ahead. In the suburbs of Western Tokyo, a woman is trying to reach her daughter, son-in-law, and grandchildren. In just a few moments, her world will be shattered, and an investigation into one of Japan's most sinister and infamous murders will commence. Mikio Miyazawa and his wife Yasuko lived in the Kamisoshigaya neighborhood of Setagaya, Japan. Mikio worked for a marketing company, while Yasuko devoted her life to teaching. The couple were deeply committed to each other and shared two children, Nina and Rei. Nina, an 8-year-old girl, was bright and clever, a year ahead in school with a passion for dance. Her grandmother Haruko often spoke of Nina's love for ballet and how she frequently showcased her talents to the family. Her younger brother Rei, a 6-year-old with a humorous and inquisitive nature, had special needs that required extra support, and he was cherished by his family. Both children were raised in a home filled with love and happiness. On December 30th, the Miyazawa family, like many others, spent their day relaxing. They went shopping, and after eating dinner, settled in to watch a film. Family meant everything to the Miyazawas, so much so that Yasuko's mother Haruko lived nearby. She adored her daughter and son-in-law and doted on her grandchildren. Most mornings, Haruko would call to check in with her family, and on December 31st, she did just that. But when she picked up the phone and dialed the number, something strange happened. The call wouldn't go through. The phone in the Miyazawa house had been disconnected. Haruko was immediately concerned. She went to the house but got no response. As her anxiety rose, she let herself into the home. At the bottom of the stairs lay the body of her son-in-law, brutally stabbed to death. She then ran upstairs and found her daughter and granddaughter, who had also been stabbed. As she searched the rest of the house, she found her beloved grandson in his bed. He had been strangled to death. Haruko's screams were so loud that neighbors heard her cries. The police soon arrived on the scene after the alarm was raised. Takeshi Toshida served as an officer for 41 years before his retirement and was the chief officer at Seijo Police Station, which was in charge of the investigation. He and his colleagues were determined to get justice for the slain family. Takeshi said that the scene was so traumatizing that the facial expressions of the family are still etched into his memory to this day. The news of the murders sent shockwaves throughout Japan. Murders of this nature are extremely rare, and people could not believe that a family could be murdered in their own home in such a horrific way. When Satsuko Miyazawa learned of her family's brutal murder, she was so overcome with shock that she blanked out. One of the first challenges investigators faced was determining how the killer had gained access to the house. Located at the back of the Miyazawa residence was Soshigaya Park, providing several potential points of entry for someone wishing to remain unseen. A leading theory among the police was that the killer climbed a tree near the house and entered through the second-floor bathroom window after removing the window screen. However, this remains speculative, as the precise point of entry has never been definitively established. The investigation was further complicated when Haruko initially mentioned using her spare key to enter the house, but later expressed uncertainty, suggesting the door might have been unlocked. This uncertainty made it difficult for detectives to ascertain exactly how the killer had gained access, adding to the mystery surrounding the tragic events. The sequence of events on that fateful night unfolded like a harrowing nightmare. After entering Rei's room, the killer brutally strangled the 6-year-old with their bare hands. Mikio, alerted by the commotion, rushed upstairs to confront the intruder. Despite putting up a fierce resistance and managing to injure the assailant, Mikio was tragically overpowered. The attacker, armed with a sashimi knife, inflicted fatal wounds upon Mikio, stabbing him with such ferocity that a piece of the blade broke off in his head. Afterwards, the killer moved through the house, attacking Yasuko and Nina with the broken blade, before using a santoku knife belonging to the family to mercilessly stab the mother and daughter to death. Shockingly, investigators believe that the assailant continued to stab Yasuko and Nina even after they had passed away, underscoring the brutality and senselessness of the crime. The chilling details of that night have left a lasting impact on all those involved and on Japan as a whole. After annihilating the Miyazawa family in such a brutal manner, the killer did not leave the scene immediately. Police estimate that the intruder remained inside the home for between 2 to 10 hours. During this time, they helped themselves to food from the fridge and drank tea. They used the family's first aid kit to tend to their own wounds sustained during the struggle with Mikio. The killer also accessed the family's computer around 1:18 a.m., just hours after the murders, and it was reportedly turned on again at around 10 a.m. on the morning Haruko discovered the bodies. While this could have been the killer, it might also have been accidentally triggered by Haruko when she entered the home. Additionally, the killer took a nap on the sofa in the second-floor living room, leaving the bodies of the Miyazawa family scattered throughout the house. As the investigation progressed, police uncovered crucial clues about the killer's identity. Before fleeing the scene, the perpetrator left behind not only the murder weapons, but also various articles of clothing. Detectives traced these items to purchases made in Kanagawa Prefecture. Among them was a distinctive sweater, one of only 130 ever produced, making it a rare piece worn by a select few. Despite this promising lead, efforts to track down the sweater's owners yielded limited results, with only 12 individuals identified. Another significant discovery was a hip bag left at the crime scene, containing trace amounts of sand. Extensive analysis pinpointed the sand's origin to the Nevada desert, specifically near Edwards Air Force Base in California. Crime scene investigators meticulously combed through the house, uncovering fingerprints and DNA belonging to the killer. However, searches of Tokyo's police database returned no matches, suggesting the suspect either had no criminal record or was not a Japanese citizen. Further analysis of the killer's blood type, identified as type A and not matching the Miyazawa family's blood, provided additional insights. The DNA revealed the perpetrator was male, possibly of mixed-race heritage, with maternal DNA indicating European ancestry and paternal DNA suggesting East Asian origin. Examination of the Y chromosome pointed to haplogroup OM122, prevalent among East Asian populations, approximately 1 in 4 or 5 Koreans, 1 in 13 Japanese, and 1 in 10 Chinese individuals. With indications pointing towards an international suspect, the Tokyo Metropolitan Police sought assistance from the International Criminal Police Organization, recognizing the possibility that the killer had fled the country. At the Miyazawa family's funeral, Satsuko, Mikio's mother, recounted being so overwhelmed with grief that the event remains a blur in her memory. She was carried inside due to her emotional distress, highlighting the profound trauma experienced by the family. Pressure mounted on investigators to provide answers for the devastated relatives. In response, police released a composite sketch of the suspected killer and speculated on his attire. Approximately 5 foot 5 inches tall, slim build, and estimated to be between 15 and 35 years old, based on the physical agility needed to enter the home and carry out the murders. Evidence from the crime scene suggested he was right-handed. The Miyazawa family massacre captivated national attention, spawning various theories. One theory suggested Mikio had quarreled with skateboarders in the nearby park, potentially linking the clothing found at the scene to skateboarding attire. Speculation also arose in the media, with investigative journalist Tamaki Ichihashi proposing a scenario involving a former South Korean army soldier turned hitman. Ichihashi alleged that a compensation dispute over the park's expansion could have motivated the killer. He criticized the initial investigation, noting the use of a reserve team from the Tokyo Police Department due to New Year's Eve, potentially delaying response time. In contrast, investigator Toshida dismissed Ichihashi's claims as baseless. The investigation into the Miyazawa family murders became one of Japan's largest, involving nearly 250,000 officers who collected over 12,000 pieces of evidence. Local areas were meticulously searched, and friends and acquaintances of the Miyazawa family were interviewed extensively in the quest for a motive in what appeared to be a random crime. Despite the Tokyo Metropolitan Police's exhaustive efforts, detailed insights into the perpetrator's profile, and numerous leads pursued, his identity remains elusive, and he remains at large. Although the detectives initially involved in the Miyazawa case have since retired, investigators continue to hold out hope for justice. As of 2019, 35 officers are dedicated to the case, supported by a 20 million yen reward for any information leading to a resolution. Annually, the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Force renews their commitment by visiting the crime scene, reaffirming their determination to apprehend the killer. Manabu Ide, a member of the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Special Investigative Task Force, remains steadfast in his commitment to apprehend the killer, vowing to continue until justice is served. He and his colleagues are determined to bring closure to the Miyazawa family, ensuring they can rest in peace. The family's house, kept empty and preserved since the tragic event, is slated for demolition due to its aging condition. Superintendent Ide reassures that all evidence from the house has been carefully preserved and that its demolition will not hinder the ongoing investigation. Despite his retirement, Takeshi Toshida has remained dedicated to the case, personally distributing flyers and regularly visiting the crime scene to keep the details fresh in his mind. He maintains a close bond with Satsuko, Mikio's mother, who has created a shrine in her home dedicated to her son, daughter-in-law, and grandchildren. During his visits, Toshida always offers prayers at the shrine, promising the family that he will never abandon hope for justice. Satsuko cherishes mementos of her grandchildren, displaying their beloved toys in a cabinet. Her deepest regret is not being able to witness their growth into adulthood. The impact of the murders has left an indelible mark, affecting all those involved deeply and irreversibly. Investigators continue to carry the burden of the crime scene vividly in their minds, refusing to rest until the perpetrator is brought to justice. Satsuko expresses a heartfelt longing for the day she can visit the shrine in her home and inform her son, daughter-in-law, and grandchildren that their assailant, who inflicted such cruel and senseless violence upon them, has finally been apprehended.